Hi guys, this is Surviving the Aftermath, a game I played almost 2 years ago. I bought this when it first came out, February 2020, and I really enjoyed it. And I got contacted just recently off Paradox because the game's coming out on the 16th. And they asked if I wanted to do a sponsored video on it, so I said yes, of course I would. It's a game I enjoy, so this is a sponsored video, so thank you Paradox for including me in that. I don't do many sponsored videos. Like I said, I think I've done 5 in 13 years, or 5 or 6. I get offered about 3 or 4 a week, but it's stuff that no. So the last time I played it, like I say, was almost 2 years ago, and I watched that video today. After playing the game for the past 3 days, pretty much non-stop. I watched me playing it 2 years ago and I had to laugh how I played it and just how the game has changed so much. Pretty much everything's changed since it first came out back in early 2020. If you're not familiar with the game, this is after the world's been devastated. There's pollution everywhere. It's just the world is almost uninhabitable. Everything that we know in the world now is gone. Everything's rubble. It's just crazy, and you've got to start from scratch with your bare hands in a tent. You know that. So you found this secure area. There's a big metal gate there that'll offer you a little bit of protection, and you're setting up your own little colony. Now, the first changes that I noticed was just at the very beginning, where you set up all the difficulty levels of the game. You can change pretty much everything. You can change your starting resources, how many catastrophes you're going to get. You can see them on your screen now. There's just a load of things that you can change to make it as easy or as difficult as you want, depending on how casual a playthrough or brutal playthrough you want. Once you've done all of that and you've named your colony, you then set it up, and you have to look at the lie of the land, really. You look at through the different views that are really handy in the game. You can see where the pollution is, but more importantly at the beginning you can see where the fertile land is, because you don't want to be building your buildings on fertile land. You want to be saving that for your crops so that they'll get a good yield. So you set up your camp, you set up some basic stuff like getting wood, getting plastic and stuff like that in, because early game you can build a lot of stuff out of plastic and wood, but then it progresses into metal and then into the concrete, and then you're going to need electronics and things like that for mid to end game. So the progression is all different to how I remember it. There's now a really cool tech tree split into 5 different points to make it easy to find stuff that you want, whether it's stuff to make your colonists happy, whether you're looking at some better infrastructure and things like that. And you can mix and match between the tech trees, so you don't have to like fill out one and then before you go to the other. So it's really handy. You can just research what you need at the time, which I found really handy as I was going through the game. To get research points though, you need a currency for this. You get that on the world map and through trading and through a bit of luck. There's a lot of RNG in this game. So yeah, the tech tree is really handy. It has some really cool things in it, and one of the things that I really like about the progression in this game is you feel like you're making stuff out of scrap. You accumulate all kinds of what you think is useless stuff until you then research a building that can take that useful stuff and turn it into a very valuable and sought after product to either trade with or to build better tech with. And you see yourself going from, like in the winter for example, just a little fire to keep warm, to a burner, like a super burner which heats a lot of houses, to radiators, to super radiators, and so it all just expands. But there's tons and tons of different buildings. It's not just about upgrading the same few buildings that you get in a lot of these games. This has been really fleshed out a long way, and it needs to be, because there's a lot of stuff that you need to be prepared for in this game that I was totally unprepared for because they weren't in the first one, namely getting attacked. But before I come into that, I want to talk about the main map, because you've got kind of 2 games playing together in parallel here. You've got your main city builder where you put all your tents and your buildings and stuff, but you've got the world map. Now the world map's totally changed since I last played it, and this is where your specialists go. Your specialists are different from normal colonists. You can only have a set amount of them, and they can be fighters, they can be scavengers, scouts, scientists and things like that. You get engineers later on. You send them out onto the world map, although they can still come into your base and be very handy in your base if it's getting attacked, because they are all armed to the teeth. So I'll come to that in a sec. But on the world map, you will explore, you will scout new regions. It's all sort of regional based on the world map. You can get cars later on to fly around the map in and set out on expeditions from your base in your own cars. I've got about 6 in my garage, and you can do them all up. Kit out a squad, so you can have like a couple of fighters, a couple of scavengers, send them all out. and come back after a few hours with absolutely tons of valuable stuff. It's really satisfying doing that. But as you go around the world map, you'll uncover lots of missions which tell the story of what's going on. These are narrated and voiced for the first part of them. The first paragraph is usually voiced, and it tells you the story of what's happened, but it also lets you meet new people and a lot of hostile encounters as well. You'll have to fight your way through this map to uncover new areas where there's bandit camps all over. You'll get quests to go and fight different people on there. There's mutated beasts on there that can kill you, but they can also be guarding a lot of loot. There's all kinds of adventures to have on the on that map. I mean, eventually you'll get to even build first aid stations on there, drop-off points, so you don't even have to keep coming back to your base to drop off the loot. You can just make multiple bases around there, and then the end game is you send out engineers on there, but I'll let you discover that for yourself, because that's all connected to the big building that you have to build to win the game. But coming back to your base, one of the things that I wanted to see in this when I first played this was danger from beasts and people. And that has happened now. You fight a lot of enemies at the gate. You'll upgrade your gate a few times to get it really fortified, and you can have guards on there all armed to the teeth if you've got the weapons. You'll find all kinds of weapons in the world. You can even manufacture them yourself. You put them on the gate, and people come up to the gate and you stop them and they say, what do you want? Oh, we're just refugees, let us in please. We have a little bit of meat and that, but it's cold, we've got nowhere to go. Are we going to come in? Please let us in. And I've got to make that decision. You know, you can be a complete git if you want, but a lot of the time I'll let them in because they'll have something I want, even if it's just an extra pair of hands to help out. But sometimes people come in and they'll come in through a different means, and you let them in and they turn out to be bad guys, and then they suddenly pull guns out and all hell breaks loose. And that's why you need to have some security in there. You can build guard towers where you'll have people constantly patrolling them, armed to the teeth again if you've got the weapons. And if you've got specialists in there, they can help very much with killing stuff. They can also just kill stuff on the map that's where your colony is. They can go out killing deer and bringing the meat back. They can kill monsters that will just inhabit the world. We were getting attacked with this, looked like a giant worm that came out of the ground like in Tremors, so I sent a few specialists to kill them. All kinds of stuff happens. You'll have big firefights at the gate. I mean, it's not an RTS kind of firefight, but you know, it does the job for portraying what's actually going on there. You'll also set up trade posts with other camps, and it's all been fleshed out much better than it was when I first played it. And it's not just about the bandits, guys. You have lots of natural catastrophes, from severe winters to massive fallout of radiation. All of these will just decimate your crops, kill your wildlife if you haven't took precautions to save them. There's big firestorms that come down like meteorites, just blast into your buildings. It's all very atmospheric and looks great. There's huge droughts where if you don't have water really backed up and tanked up, you're going to die, guys. I mean, this is surviving. You know, you have to. If you aren't prepared, you're in for big trouble. The whole game is just changed. It's all about the way you progress now. Everything that I'd learnt, I just threw away. I had to really start again. And do you know what? Just playing it for the last few days, I can't wait. I'm taking a few days off because I haven't stopped for like 2.5 weeks now. Just like 7 days a week, like 10 hours a day, just hammering stuff. And I've still got 4 more videos to do, 3 after this, and then I'm taking a few days off, and this will be what I'll be playing. Simply because one of the things that I love about this is the pace. It's at a very slow pace, but it also allows you to speed it up if you want. But I like the fact that you can just go through at a slow pace. There's a few things I don't like about it. There's a few bugs that I've come across, so they've been passed on to the developers. But there could be some things to make your life a little bit easier. One of the things that really got me was you can have different storage areas for different types of goods. Some of them are more secure, because if you get raided and beat, they will steal a lot of your stuff. So I put all my valuables in a secure storage, but I still had some in an old storage of before I had a secure storage. So I went into the old one and says, right, I don't want you to stock any more of these valuable items. And so that was fine, they didn't. But they also never took the ones out of there and put in the new store, which surprised me. It was also a little clunky sometimes getting your specialists in and out of the base. You tell them to go in, and you'd go in the base, they weren't there, they were still on the map, so you'd have to tell them a second time. I know it might be looked as nitpicking, but you know, in the interests of balance, I've got to point out the stuff that I didn't like as well as the stuff I did like. Whether it's, even if it's a sponsored video, it's just the way I roll. So there you go, guys. Surviving the Aftermath has changed massively since I last played it. It's out on the 16th, and there's a link to click in the description of this video if you want more information.